Umberto Eco is here. He is a philosopher. He is a novelist. He is best known for his book, The Name of the Rose. His latest novel is called The Prague Cemetery. It is about anti-Semitism and conspiracy theories. The Spanish newspaper said the novel restores the irreverent and provocative spirit of great literature. I am pleased to have him back at this table. Welcome.
Hi, sir.
Let me talk about the book. You have created a despicable, terrible,
disgusting
character.
Yes.
Yes. Tell me, how did you go about this? What was it you wanted to do?
Well, first of all, I was not the first one. Think of Shakespeare designing Richard III, or Macbeth, or Dickens with phaging. So the literature is rich in disagreeable characters. I certainly exaggerated for it. I wanted to design a racist, and then among the other forms of racism, of an anti-Semitic person. So I was maneuvering such a dirty material that it was important for me to keep the character far away from the reader and far away from myself, in a way. At that point, well, as a narrator, it was also a pleasure to invent a disgusting character, and I did my best in doing that.
So the moral imperative here is what? In other words, you have said that this book was a moral imperative.
No, I think that being a book about forgeries, and a book about
a racist,
racism, and the book about the biggest and the most tragical of the forgeries, that is the protocols of the elders of science, that they too inspired even Hitler.
He used it for his own theories of anti-Semitism.
For doing what he did. If there was a moral imperative, it's not necessary to write a novel with a moral imperative, but if there is one, this time was to make evident how a forgery can be concocted and produced, how a forgery, how the protocols, like the protocols, due to their very difficult evolution, because they are the effect of many hands. They are something like the Frankenstein monster made up with different corpses.
Frankenstein monster with different corpses, yes.
Corpse. And to make the reader aware of the self-contradictoriness of these texts, the scandal of the protocols, if they are so naively self-contradictory that you could think that it's impossible to take them seriously. The second scandal of the protocols, that after they proved to be a fake in 1921 by the London Times, they were republished and still believed more and more. That is an incredible phenomenon. I try to explain what a sort of swamp there was beneath the growth of this text.
The character, where did you get his name from?
That is an historical inspiration, because the grandfather of my character, Simone Simonini, Captain Simonini, was allegedly an historical person. Since in the end of the 18th century, the abbot Baruel wrote a book already inspired to the paranoia of general conspiracy, saying that the French Revolution had been planned by the Knight Templars, the philosophers of the Encyclopedia, and many other people. And he received a letter of a given Captain Simonini saying, "Haha, you have forgot the Jews." And this letter contains all the clichés that then in the 19th century were used against the Jews. Did Captain Simonini really exist? Was that letter a forgery or a real letter? We don't know. We know, as an historical evidence, that this letter was used and published and republished many times in the 19th century, and so it got a certain effect in order to produce. It was not the only anti-Semitic text produced in that century, but in in part, it helped step by step to arrive to the protocols.
He's the only fictitious character in the book.
Yes. All the other ones are true, and that's why they look so fictional, because they are nothing more fictional than history. Certain characters that really existed, there is a character there, Leo Taxil, that everybody believed it was invented by me and I was a genius. No, he was really existing. He was a professional liar, changing the kind of lies, opinions, positions, every season with a sort of erotic taste for fakes. And he's an incredible character, and he existed.
He's driven by the desire for food and the hatred of Jews.
Food is another story. I gave to my character an enormous quantity of food as a substitute for sex. And I thought that the reader could have been disgusted also for such an amount of food. But since I worked to find the typical dishes of that period, and the French names of those dishes are so fascinating that people believed I was a refined gourmet. And they said, no, I am a McDonald's person.
You, in writing this book, you hope that it will be a reminder to all of us to be vigilant about anti-Semitism.
Yes, I think so. That was there was a position in the Jewish community, at least 2 articles said, but maybe somebody can take seriously all those anti-Semitic arguments. But response, you can find them in internet, so it's not that the risk. But another rabbi in a meeting said, sometime for politically correctness, we try not to mention those cliches, those stereotypes, and so we tend to forget them. Why they are still alive, they are still circulating, there are still people sharing those ideas. So it's important to spell it aloud and to remember that they are there and they are still very strong.
There's also a lot of lists in this book. Lists. A list of this, list of that.
Probably you know that I have written huge illustrated books on lists. I think that in the history of literature, lists are an important stylistic device. I used a lot of lists in my own novels, and therefore there are lists also there. That is part of my style.
And so you started writing novels because you had stories you want to tell.
I discovered not to have a definite answer to this question, because I can give numerous answers. For instance, the fact that I told stories to my children and they grew up and I had no more readers. But the real answer is that I felt the wish to do that. It's gratuity, like to fall in love. There is no explanation. It happens. But I was a great narrator in my childhood. Simply, I start many novels and I stopped them at the first chapter. So I was the author of many unaccomplished masterpieces, like Schubert.
One chapter masterpieces.
Chapter.
What's the future of the novel?
I think, first of all, what's the future of narration? Because there are many forms of narrativity which are not necessarily the genre of the novel, because they are what are called natural narrativity. I come from outside, I tell you, I have seen something extraordinary, there was an accident. We are always telling stories, the mothers are telling. So the narrativity is a fundamental human activity.
Now, will you immediately start on another novel, or will you wait until the
Listen,
idea.
all my novel took 6 years at least, and the Foucault's Pendulum 8 years. Into 1 month, I'll be 80.
Yeah, 1 month you'll be 80.
Yes,
Still
80
time.
years old.
Still time.
So, if I survive until 88, maybe.
The Prague Cemetery, Umberto Eco. Thank you.
Thank you,
Great to
Charlie.
see you. Pleasure.